trip planning? What's your advice for trip planning? I mean, you're a huge researcher that comes across in your books very, very clearly. What advice would you give to people who are planning, I don't know, they're planning to do a trip in XYZ area, and what resources would you suggest and what process would you suggest that they do before they go?
Well, sort of the theme and how I've been answering a lot of these questions is variety. So I do like to do both. Yeah, a lot of the expeditions I do, especially if it's an official one for the Royal Canadian Geographical Society, then I like to research it as meticulously and as extensively as possible and basically leave no stone unturned in my quest for every scrap of information I can possibly turn up relevant to the area I'm going to and the history of that place. But there's something to be said also for old-fashioned adventure and doing trips more spontaneously as well. Especially if you were doing it to have fun, then there's nothing wrong in certain circumstances with, I never heard about this place until Thursday and it's come across my desk. I'm super excited. I'm leaving the office, taking tomorrow off, calling in sick or whatever, grabbing my backpack and going out there. I don't know much about it, but, I'm kind of under the spell and I want to get out in those mountains and just go out there and enjoy it the old fashioned way. And it'll be, in some ways, a more pleasurable experience when everything is new and I don't know anything about it. And it's exciting coming to this place. Now, obviously, it would be, I'm sort of, with that example, I'm inclining towards like a local park you didn't know about or something, right? Like an hour's drive from where you live. I'm not talking about all of a sudden getting on a helicopter and flying to Ellesmere Island. That would be a little bit riskier. But I like to do both those things, right?
Greenland without a plan.
Yeah, just drop me in the interior on the ice cap with this one backpack. Yeah, that would be crazy. But I like to do both, the more spontaneous adventures and the ones that take years of planning. But we'll go with the planning ones because that was more your question. And I think, if you're going to do an expedition, any sort of wilderness travel, it pays off to do your homework, right? Do as much research as you can on the area you're going into. Now, I like history and I like writing about history. I did it in my book, History Canada 10 Maps. And that's not a bad place to start if you're going to a river, let's say. Most of the famous rivers in Canada, you can find a published book on, often a very old book that might have been published 100 years ago or 200 years ago, but thanks to the internet, it's easier than ever to obtain these. Many of them are literally online for free, digitized. And they can be an excellent source of information as a starting point. Like the George River, we've mentioned that a few times. Well, there's books that were written on canoeing the George River 100 years ago that still have a lot of useful information in them. Mm-hmm. And you could start by reading that and then work your way chronologically all the way up through the decades, 1940s, 70s, all the way up to 2022, using the internet, using your library. If you have access to a university library, they often have a wealth of information on exploration and all sorts of different fields that's hard to get your hands on otherwise because a lot of it hasn't been digitized, like Geological Survey of Canada files and other files like that often have a lot of really rich information on the land, the geography, the routes. So you can research it in all those countless ways. Of course, a lot of the research is done nowadays on a laptop, looking at Google Earth, zooming in carefully and studying what you're actually seeing there. And the more you practice that, the more you can read from the satellite. You can get a good sense of what the landscape is going to be like. Like there's a lot of beaches and sand dunes along this river, or that actually might not be a sandy coastline. That's actually rock. Just sort of looks like it because it's a light colored rock. So you get a sense just from doing that. All of that will help a person planning any sort of route. And of course, there's more specific information. If you really want to start making phone calls and tracking people down, you can find people who've been in the area, reach out to them any way you can and getting information out of them. So yeah, all of those things are relevant to it.